Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today, our special guest is Lauren Gedman. She is the 2024 Ohio Realtors Good Neighbor Award winner, an Ohio Realtor, just a great person. She's going to be telling us a little bit more about her story, why giving back is so important, the work that she does in her community, and hopefully this might inspire you all to get involved too. So Lauren, welcome onto the show.
Thank you.
So excited to be having you and to be hearing a little bit more about you and the great things that you do. But before we get started into the details of that, I would like to know a little bit more about you. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved in real estate and what's led you to where you are today.
So actually, I'm very much an introvert. My husband was in the Army for 12 years or so. And we lived in Tennessee for a while. And I had thought about doing real estate then, but my mom actually told me that I didn't have the personality for it. So I didn't do it. And then he ended up getting out and we moved back up here to Waterville, Toledo area. And I was working at a bank, but I sold a house and the agent approached me afterwards and was like, "Hey, do you want to come work in my office?" So I did. And then I would say that was probably October. And by March of 2013, I was licensed. I think once I got into it, I was like, okay, well, I can do this because it's not really so much an extrovert business, but more of just helping people.
I love that. And it sounds like you've been able to make quite a good career about it, introvert or not. You've been able to, have success with it. How did you kind of overcome that? Because like your mom said, you don't have the personality for that. Did that affect you or your business or anything that you did? Or how did you kind of work through some of that?
Well, I think because I didn't really know, I looked at real estate as more of a sales business. And I'm not necessarily a salesperson. And I tell my clients that now, and I'm not sure that they quite understand what I mean. But I don't look at it as sales. I look at it as helping people. So that made it a lot easier when I was actually getting face to face with people, that it's like, okay, I'm not trying to sell them something. I'm just trying to guide them into what they want. And I think that is what really made it easier. I still am not the best about doing open houses or putting myself in front of people that I don't know. That is not really still my thing, even after, 11, 12 years. But I know that that's not my strong suit. So I just choose not to do that. So, my business is all of my sphere and who I know and referrals, and that seems to work for me. Could I be doing better? Probably. But this is what makes me comfortable. I'm not a cold caller. It's just not my personality. So I think that's probably how I've adapted.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's always great to have perspective because, you do think that this job, is for extroverts or, really well suited for people who like people. And I think it's always good to hear another side of that and to hear, that you've been able to kind of carve out your niche and do, what works for you. And there's good things we like about our job and bad things, that we don't like about our job. But I think that goes for any job. But it's great that kind of you found what's worked for you and that you've been able to find success with it and do it in a way that you're enjoying it as well. So I think that's really awesome. And I always like to hear people's background stories and what's led them to where they are today. So thanks for sharing a little bit more about that. I want to talk about the Good Neighbor Award. So this award every year is voted on by the Communications Committee here at Ohio Realtors. We ask for nominations for a certain time period, and then the nominees are voted on by this committee. And I believe it was someone through your local board who sent in your nomination. And I believe we had a decent amount of other nominees as well. It's always so inspiring each year to see who's being nominated for these awards. We have so many amazing realtors in the state that are doing just incredible things. But you were selected out of all of those winners. Tell us a little bit about finding out that you had been nominated and winning that award. Did you have any idea? Talk to us about that process and what that was like.
I was honestly shocked. I was driving home from vacation when I got the email, and I didn't even know what to say. I was in the car with my husband. We had been in traffic for hours, and I read it and I was like, there's no way that this is real. I honestly didn't believe it. I was shocked when I won the local one too. So for it to go all the way to the state level blows my mind. I mean, obviously, I didn't do the things that I did just because of that. Some things I got roped into, and some things I really love doing. So, and I mean, Task Force 20 is just the one that I absolutely love. So it doesn't feel like I'm doing something that I don't, you know what I mean, that I have to do. It's just, it's fun. And we know that we're helping people. So that makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to get into Task Force 20. You'll have to tell us all about it, how it really makes a difference for veterans in your area. But I just want to read off some of the things that you've done that was
Oh,
included on your
man.
application. So this is how amazing Lauren is. So for the past 3 years, she became incredibly involved in the organization, giving her time by planning and organizing events to bring veterans together, donating directly to the organization, and helping to raise critical dollars to support veterans in need. With her involvement, the organization's annual revenue, event attendance, and number of veterans support doubled, which is just amazing. In the expansion, enabled Task Force 20 to partner with VA hospitals in Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Dayton and Columbus, Ohio, greatly expanding their reach and impact. So this really just goes to show, what your involvement has been able to accomplish. And I mean, hats off to you. That's just incredible. And I know we mentioned a little bit about what Task Force 20 is, that it involves veterans, but give us kind of a rundown of the organization, its mission, and what's drawn you to that.
So, my husband's best friend, Jason, he's actually getting inducted into the Ohio Veterans Hall of Fame on Thursday this week, which is very exciting.
Awesome.
He was living in Delaware, Ohio. He was working for the American Legion, I believe. I'm not quite sure. They grew up together. My husband joined the military in 1999, and Jason was a few years after him after 9/11. But there's a very big difference between my husband because we got married very young. So he had a family and a support system, where Jason was a few hours away from where we live now. He was by himself. He was depressed. He had nobody to rely on when he got home. So he started going to a gym, and he realized how much that did for his mental health. He eventually moved back here, but he started Task Force 20 in 2016. So the idea behind it is that, a lot of veterans, they've been through a lot, especially ones that have joined up since 2001 and on. When he came back, he was like, hey, I have this idea. I really feel like I was in a dark place. I was drinking. I was doing all the things that I should do, but I went to a gym. I met people. I became physically active, and it really helped me. What if we could do that for a lot of other people? So that is the idea behind it. So we provide gym memberships for veterans. They go through a whole application process. It's very deep in my family. Everything that we do involves my family. My daughters volunteer. My husband obviously is an executive board member. My mom even is the liaison between the veterans and the gyms. She's making the phone calls and setting it up. So we pay for gym memberships. We have sponsored a sled hockey team for disabled veterans. I mean, we have done whatever we think we can do to get veterans off the couch and away from drugs and alcohol into a healthy and active lifestyle. That's really our goal.
I love that. I think that's such a great mission, and what a way to take care of the people that are serving our country, and are oftentimes not given that care and attention that they need and are struggling. And it sounds like, you've provided them such a safe and a healthy outlet in order to, work through some of that of what they've been through. So I think that's really incredible. Do you have a favorite story or, someone that comes to mind when you think about the work that you've all done and through what you've been able to do with Task Force 20, that this has really made a big impact in your life? Do you have a favorite story or someone that pops to mind?
We do several events a year. So it's always interesting to see because a lot of times we don't meet these people face to face. We try to do things where, we show up in a gym and see who shows up, but it doesn't seem to work that well. People don't They don't seem to want to come. But we have a 5K every year. We hold an annual banquet where we give out awards to other people who are helping the veteran community. So it'll be organizations, civilians, veterans, whoever. So it's always nice to see those come together and show up, and the support that we get from our friends and family, and obviously the people who have been affected. I would say this past year at our banquet, we hold it in September. Actually, it was right before Ohio Realtors Conference. And we had this veteran, her name was Lindy, and you could tell that she was very uncomfortable. She's not a public speaker, but she got up and she told her story. And she served in the military. She was in a really bad car accident, and she was just trying to work her way back. And the fact that we provided a gym membership, and she is competing in competitions now all over the country. And just to see somebody that has that experience that we were able to help is honestly, like, it's mind blowing to know that we were able to do that.
Yeah.
So she's pretty spectacular.
This episode of The Real View is brought to you by the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Ohio's network of community colleges provides accessible training that accommodates the busy lifestyles of aspiring real estate professionals at half the price of a traditional university. With convenient locations in every part of the state, as well as online options, Ohio's community colleges are your smart choice for pre-licensing education. For more details or to start the journey to a real estate career, visit the education page at ohiorealtors.org and then click on the pre-license course locations.
That's really cool. No, I think that's awesome. And you mentioned on both those occasions, with your friend, the importance of physical activity, and just what's your opinion on that? Like, what is kind of the benefits that you've seen from having regular exercise, access to the gym, things like that? How have you seen that really have an impact on people's lives?
First of all, you're getting up every day, you're committed to doing something. So whether it's going to the gym or getting out there and running, whatever that looks like, I feel like not only does it make you physically feel better, but it does help you mentally. My husband is one that, he served 3 tours. He was in Iraq twice and Afghanistan once. And I mean, he comes home and he gets out, and it's just sort of like this. He doesn't really know what to do. He did PT every day, and his schedule was very regimented. On even when he wasn't home, his schedule was very regimented. So he got out, and he's kind of like, what do I do? So it took a while, but he goes to the gym 7 days a week, and you can just tell the difference in how he feels about himself and his confidence. And he is in a much better place than when he decides to not do that. So I do feel like it has a direct effect into how you're feeling and how you're managing your mental health. I mean, they go through a lot there that I think, people are starting to realize, obviously, but I've lived through those deployments with him. And I'm sure that there are things that I don't even know. So for him to go out, and he goes to a gym that we work very closely with here, who the owner is also a veteran. So he gets in there and he gets with other veterans, and they kind of understand where he's coming from. And it's just a good camaraderie that I don't think he gets anywhere else.
Yeah, it sounds like the physical activity and, kind of having that part of your brain activated, plus, being around people who went through similar things as you, having that sense of community can really have a positive impact. And I think, that's so fantastic. And shout out to you and the work you guys do at Task Force 20 to make it a reality. But that's not the only giving back that you do. Tell us a little bit about your work in softball and in children in the Anthony Wayne area. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you give back outside of Task Force 20.
Yes. So I recently stepped down from that. I have 2 daughters. One is in college, then plays lacrosse, and then I have a 15-year-old now. But in 2019, she played softball. So I started coaching her. I played softball in high school. Just seemed like the natural thing to do. You get an email that says, we have nobody to coach. So then you step up to coach. So I coached her for a few years prior to 2019. And then they asked me to become a board member. I have a hard time saying no. So I did that. And then by the time 2020 rolled around, we had the whole COVID situation, obviously. So we kind of took a season off. And then before I knew it, I was running the entire softball side of the program.
That's usually how it goes, right? You say yes, and then you're running the whole show.
Yes. So I was forming teams and assigning coaches and handing out equipment and all of those things. And then it's called a WAPSA, which is Anthony Wayne Area Baseball and Softball Association. And then as part of that, it is a subsection of the Anthony Wayne Youth Foundation, which means then I had to serve on their board, which then I got on their finance committee for, again, because I couldn't say no. So I did that for a few years in addition to coaching. It was fun to see the perspective of the behind the scenes and how it all comes together. And it got me really close to a couple of the girls. And I really enjoyed coaching. That was definitely my favorite part of it. But as my kids get older and are no longer playing, I think I did it for a couple of years after my youngest stopped playing because I wasn't sure exactly how to step away. But like I said, my oldest daughter, she plays college lacrosse, and it just got to be where I didn't have the time in the spring to sit down and do that. I needed to be wherever she was playing.
I love that. I love that. That's really cool. Where did she go to school?
She is at Adrian College in Michigan.
I love that. Very cool. College, actually.
Senior year.
Wow. Almost done.
Yes.
That's really exciting and really cool. And just, you can tell how big of a heart you have, by listening to you talk about your involvement and you're always so willing to step up and give back. In your opinion, why is that so important to you? Why have you made community service and giving back? It sounds like a big part of your life.
I don't really know why. I just feel like with softball, I felt like if I wasn't going to do it, who was? So I sort of felt like I was responsible for every softball player in my community. And I did not want that to be something that didn't happen just because there wasn't somebody who stepped up and did it. So to be honest, that's probably the only reason I did that one. That was not on my radar of something that I wanted to do. But with Task Force 20, I think that the military was such a huge part of my life. I've been married to my husband since I was 18, and he joined the Army at 17. So I think it was such a huge part of my life that it felt like before Task Force 20 that we could have been doing something more. And honestly, I love it. I love planning the events. I think that it could be my second job outside of real estate. It's fun to, pull people in and they don't really know what we are. And then to pull them in to come to our Veterans Awards banquet or something like that. And then everybody will come up to me afterwards and they're like, we're in. Like they are completely sold on the idea. So that is something that's really important to me. We love showing up at the events. I mean, with my daughters too, it's just something that we make a whole family affair. We've got all my neighbors involved, all my family is involved. So it's just something that I mean, we felt like we needed to do more, and it feels like this is definitely helping.
Oh, it sounds like it 100%. And you're just so considerate and always thinking about others and, taking that time to realize like, hey, like there's more we can be doing. We have time and talents. We can give of this. Let's, give back and try to help other people along the way. I think that's really great. And how fun to do as a family as well. And your kids seeing that and you're instilling that same mindset of giving back and helping out people around you. What do your daughters think of being involved? And I know you talked a little bit about their involvement, but what do they think of it? And how has this kind of become a whole family or part of your family?
So we felt like the way that we needed to grow Task Force 20 and do our part was to bring in everybody that we knew. So it's funny, if you walk down my street on any given day, you will see somebody around here mowing their grass or working outside in a Task Force 20 shirt. So it is awesome to look around and see that happen. I think at first we forced our daughters to go do things. Our 5K, it always looks the same. Myself and my youngest daughter, Sophia, will be at the registration table and we will be checking people in for the 5K. And then if you look across the sidewalk, it'll be my husband and my oldest daughter, Olivia, and they will be selling t-shirts and sweatshirts and whatever we can. You'll see my dad out there setting up tents and helping, and my mom doing whatever, who knows what she's doing, but always something. And it has just become that's what they do. They come in and they help and they enjoy it. And the girls have fun, believe it or not. My youngest is very much an introvert like me, where my oldest is an extrovert like my husband. So my youngest is more like, I don't know, but she ends up, I mean, she's in there running the show, looking for the ankle bracelets that they have to wear for the 5K, and she is all about it. So it has turned into, we always know every Task Force 20 event, if Olivia is home, all four of us will be there and we will be out doing whatever needs to be done to make it happen.
No, that's awesome. What a great way for you all to bond too, and then have that quality time together as a family. And it sounds like, we can see your kids, staying involved in what the future of that might look like. But on the topic of the future of Task Force 20 and what you all are able to do there, tell us a little bit about 2025 coming up. What's in store? Do we have any cool events we should be circling on our calendars? What do you have going on and in the future for next year?
Yes. So we already have our golf outing scheduled. It's called Tee Off for Vets. That is on May 3rd, I believe, whatever that Saturday is. I believe it's May 3rd. And then we do our 5K, which is the end of June. It's a Saturday in June. The golf outing is typically in Oregon at Eagles Landing, and then the 5K takes place in White House. It takes up a whole good portion of the day with people come out, they do the 5K, and then we have a luncheon at the Legion afterwards, and everybody shows up and we give away, we do a raffle with gift cards and things like that. So those are our biggest ones. Then our third biggest is the banquet that we do every year where we hand out awards to other people. So if you know anybody who's helping the veteran community, please nominate them for awards. We're always looking for other organizations and other people out there to nominate. We do that in September. I believe it's September 19th this year. And we usually do that at the Pinnacle in Maumee. We usually have about 200 to 250 people show up for that. And they hand out awards, and we have guest speakers, and we provide dinner. It's a really great time. And then we do some odds and ends. We usually have a tent at the Dayton Air Show, or we will have tents at local festivals around here. Pretty much wherever we can get our name out there and be selling our t-shirts, that's where we'll be.
I love that. I love that. It sounds like it's going to be a great year up and coming, and can't wait to see the success you guys have with it. And how can people learn more about the organization, find more about these events, help support, buy a t-shirt? What's the best way that we can get more information?
So we have all social media accounts, Task Force 20, Northwest Ohio. We're all over any social medias. We also have a website, which is tf20.org. We have a lot of our merchandise on there, and we're working with a company. We used to have to buy everything in bulk and then kind of sell what we have, but we're working with a company so that you can order exactly what you want and the size that you want without waiting for us to try and get it to you. But our website is definitely our biggest. You can donate there, you can purchase items, and it'll always have a list of everything that we're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I want to go get up there and support, help, give back, and really celebrate such a special cause. And you guys have done a great job. And I know everyone, all of our military and veterans are so appreciative for the great work that you do. And we can't thank you enough. I want to know a little bit about how you handle it all. I mean, you just talked about all this volunteer work you were doing, softball, Task Force 20, being a mom, being a realtor. Tell us how you do it all. What's your advice, for maybe our realtors listening out there who are like, I want to do more, I don't know how to do it. How do you juggle it all? And what's your advice for us on how to make this a part of everyday life?
That I'm not really sure. I live and die by my calendar.
Yes.
That definitely helps me. I put my family first. So if my daughters have a tennis match or a lacrosse game, you will see me there no matter where it's at or when it is. So that's my top priority. But outside of that, I just like to stay busy. I'm not one to sit at home. So if the real estate market is not great, like it's not right now, then I'm going to be out doing something else, which is usually planning what's coming next to try and make us some money with Task Force 20. I just try to schedule out my time the best that I can. And like I said, I just don't really like to sit still. So there's not a lot of time where I'm sitting here. I just try to be out doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like, you do it all, you do it all well. And you're such a great example and representation of what it means to be a good neighbor, to be an Ohio realtor. So I know we appreciate it, and keep up the good work. I'm excited to see what you're going to do next. And I'm sure you're going to take this into new heights that it's never been before. So thank you so much on behalf of all of Ohio Realtors for all that you do and for being that amazing community advocate. It's really, really inspiring and really cool to see.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And to all of our listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out more on Task Force 20. As Lauren mentioned, the great resources and information out there. Get involved. I highly encourage you to check it out and support if you can. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.